So let's do some cookie cutter to creative crafts, some Pesach or Passover crafts. Here are a number of ideas, Seder plates and pillows and afikomen bags, all done in a very cookie cutter copycat way. And now we're going to do a few activities that are more creative and developmentally appropriate. We're going to start with afikomen bags. These are the things we would use. I would start with felt because it's very easy to sew with. The needle goes right through it. So we have felt that we need. You can use other materials too. This is like regular cotton material. There's different colors. I actually bought these in Walmart. You can have larger pieces, smaller pieces. Those are called fat quarters, actually. This material has some holes in it, which is also very easy to sew with. Then we need thread. We need thinner embroidery thread. Even if you're doing this with young children, you can't use yarn. It's too thick. Then we'll need chenille needles. Chenille needles have very large holes, so they're easy to thread. And they're pointy needles that can go through things, but they're not so sharp that they can hurt you or the children. And these are Velcro pieces. It's two different sizes, and these are peel and stick, and these will be good to close the afikomen bags when you're done. So you start by threading the needle. If they're old enough to thread, you have them threaded. Otherwise, you could thread it for them. You pick two colors that you like, that you want to go together, and you get yourself a piece of embroidery thread. And as I said, if they can do it, good. If not, you can just do it for them. This is a very individual kind of activity. You can't do it with a whole group at a time. Then you start from inside, as you see, because I want to hide the knot. And then what you're going to be doing here is what is called the whip stitch. The whip stitch goes all the way around, and it closes up the openings in the pieces of felt. And you're going to do that all the way around. And of course, when you need to switch thread, you'll have to tie it and give them another piece of thread. When it's all done, all around, that's where the Velcro goes. Now, if you want, before you give it to them to sew, if you want to draw on it at all and sew on what you're drawing, so here I'm writing afikomen. There's my aleph and my fey. And then what you do, it's kind of embroidery. It's called like drawing with a needle. Now that pen is a washable pen. Here it's before, and here it's washed off after you're all done. So you don't have to worry that it's going to stay. And then you thread the needle for them, and they basically, this is the running stitch. It goes up and down, up and down, and it's following the lines. It's drawing with the needle. And, I don't know how old the children you're working with are, but you don't have to do a lot of it. Sometimes they can do just one letter or one matzah or whatever it is that they want to do. Here is an example of how this was done with a first grader, just running stitch. Here's a much older girl who did a very elaborate afikomen bag. If you want to do it with a larger piece, or that's a much larger piece of felt, and then you can do it with larger white pieces as well. So here I'd be folding it over this way, so then you don't have to sew all around. You just sew down the side, you fold it over, and you use the Velcro to cover it that way. And of course, you can decorate it as well. Now let's move into pillows. Pillows are very similar to afikomen bags. The only difference is that we're going to sew it all around. So you pick your felt or whatever material that you want to do. You sew all around. Then you leave a little space so you can stuff it with this. And then when you finish stuffing it, they finish sewing it up. You don't have to do it inside out to make it look very neat, because it doesn't matter when they're very young. Here I have just a couple of pillows that kids have done. This was just with someone's name and embroidery. And now we're going to move into weaving, because baskets are woven, and Moshe was in the basket. So we're going to do paper weaving. We need two different colors of construction paper. And it's a good thing to draw a line to show the children where they shouldn't cut beyond. Now, you can make lines over there to show them where to cut. Even though I made the lines, it turns out that I didn't have them in the right place. I didn't even follow the lines. But what you do is you cut up until that line. So if they have a line, they know they're gonna cut, and they're not gonna cut through it. Then you open it up. There's your loom. You have your loom, and then you cut strips of paper. You can measure it. You don't have to. You could just cut them like that, and those are the pieces you're going to use for weaving. Now, the idea of weaving, we could use some tape to tape down the pieces so they don't move around that much. We're going under and over and under and over. That's the first one. That's the first. And then the second thing, as you know, if you've done this before, then we have to do the opposite. Then if the first was under and over, the second will be over and under. And we're just going the exact opposite way. Now, this was something done where the papers were all cut up and they were kept together by a piece of tape. Here's another way to do that too. This way you can use any papers and just cut them up, and you don't have to fold them like that. So now this is the mistake. So they have to go back and make sure that it's all under and over and under and over. Otherwise, it's not going to look like a weaving. Here is a finished one, and then they can do whatever they want. If they want to make baskets, his was a child, a first grader, that made her own basket. She wove two, put them together, added handles, and then she made a picture of baby Moshe and put him in the bottom. Here is a way to make kiddush cups and plates. So I would use fabric paint, which really stain. You have to be very careful with this. Or you could use markers. But for a plate, I happen to have done something where you take like a nice hard plastic plate and you go on the bottom and you Mod Podge it with a tissue paper, and then it's really pretty on the bottom, and then you can use it in the middle. But this is using fabric paint, a hard plastic cup. So you need a hard plastic cup and the fabric paint. Make sure you have some kind of needle to open it when it gets clogged. And then you just decorate any way you want. This is something, maybe they can hold it inside. This is something that stains. They must wear a smock. It can get really all over the place. So but it's very cool once it dries. It must dry overnight. It takes a long time, and you could use as many different colors as you want. And then you have the kiddush cup and the kiddush plate. Here we are with that. Meet me here to learn more about creative crafts.